drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Fenced in the morning, continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's not.
It's heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and welcome. Yes, it's another sermon time, and what a corker we've got for you this week. We're in banging spirits after our sponsorship day at Thirsk yesterday that went extremely well, superbly looked after by the Thirsk Racecourse area, and everyone there. Everyone had a fabulous time. We tipped 3 from 3 winners. Chris Pull, eat your heart out. It was a stunning day, attended by several bar stewards and patrons and faces of the North. It was a fabulous, fabulous day. And I recommend anyone to take up sponsorship at Thirsk at any point because they will look after you and do a job. And they've given us a fabulous sign next to the winning line, which you'll see for the rest of the season there at the track. So plenty of photo finishes hopefully. Get some more coverage. Anyway, you two, let's crack on with the show. Good evening, Chris. Good evening, Mr. John Lang.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Plenty to talk about. We'll come on to the racing review in a minute. But before we do the racing review, I think we're going to talk about your experience up north, Chris, because I think you're having shivers, cold sweats coming further north than Northampton. It's not something that you often do.
North London.
Yeah.
Well, pretty extraordinary. I mean, one of the things I think noticed sort of more than anything is that the people up north walk upright. Right, so anyone who's sort of south of Watford, they don't drag their knuckles. Most of the people sort of walk in an upright position, which I thought was extraordinary. They've got sort of flushing toilets, like you and I have. They've got motor cars, quite modern ones as well. And you can understand most of what they say. So it was a real kind of revelation for me, actually. Yeah, really, really good. Really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. What was the old hotel like? Give us the travel lodge review.
Absolutely spotless, and I can't stress, absolutely spotless. So much so that I actually sent a picture of the sink to my daughter, who next time she nips me for a tenner to clean the bathroom, that's what I want the fucking sink to look like. It was immaculate. There wasn't a speck of dust. It was like a sort of like a crime scene had been through and cleaned it. It was unreal, and I
probably were.
Probably that's where the previous occupant died in bed, but it was unbelievable. Really clean. I couldn't fault it at all. And people say, well, it's relatively new. It was fabulous. Really clean. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and the whole afternoon was just Rolls Royce, I thought. Tremendous.
Amazing stuff. What a day. It's really perked us up. One of the best days I've ever had racing.
Yeah.
I can safely say. We tried to poison Davis to win bar steward sweep on Friday night.
Nearly worked.
Took Davis out for a nice beef brisket sandwich, but apparently it came with things that he didn't like on it. But he ate it anyway out of politeness. And he ended up throwing up at 2 a.m, he said. And then Chris is rubbing his hands because he said, I took the 9 to 4.
Yeah, we've all greened out though, actually, to be honest. He went into 5 on at 4 o'clock in the morning. I got mine out. Greening and Kermit's cocktail was, I promise you. I swear to God. But no, I couldn't stress enough. I thought Go Racing Yorkshire was superb. I thought Charlotte Russell was divine. She endured my company for 3 or 4 hours. She laughed at the right points of my feeble jokes, and she even feigned interest at my story of how I thought the Oklahoma City truck bombing, you could trace its lineage back through to Waco and the siege at Ruby Ridge. And she nodded politely and went, gosh, that's interesting. Women love that sort of talk, don't they? I assume. So if she fancies trading a life of, being a lady farmer and riding point to point for a life of living in squalor and fear, I've left the light on in the shed for her. I've cleared a space behind John in his number 3 potting compost, so she's welcome to come over tonight, no problems at all. But she'll have to keep her head down during the daylight because my missus is like Sherlock Holmes, so you should have to be careful. But honestly, it's an open invitation to Charlotte. Anytime she wants to trade a life of ease for this shit, she's very welcome. She was lovely in every respect. A consummate professional and a tremendous ambassador for Go Racing Yorkshire. So
you are like same price as them that's just teed off in Masters to win it.
I have 5 noughts to that. It's the same price now. I missed the cut within an hour of getting there. So honestly, I'm under no illusions. But and listen, she took me to the sweet shop as well. Don't forget about that.
How many bags of sweets did you buy?
I was showing off because I thought I'd impress her. I said, "I'll quarter of them, like fucking 14 quids and what of white mice and fruit salad chews." I thought she must have thought it must be Aristotle Onassis here in the sweet shop, but yeah.
I decided to punish you, and I stole all your sweets, and we've got your sweets now in the house. So.
You haven't when I felt bilious after about my fourth bag of fruit salads. I thought I can't stop eating. I can't bottle it now. I've got to eat them. So yeah, I did, and I feel a bit sick. Still feel sick, but no, they were tremendous. Joking aside, wonderful people, and it was a great day, and just as well for organising.
RD's been on. He says he thinks now you're honorary Yorkshireman now.
Well,
you like it up here.
I do, but you'd have to ask yourselves, a Yorkshireman, would you have me as an honorary Yorkshireman? But I have to say,
no.
No, fuck I wouldn't want to be Poxy Yorkshireman anyway, wankers. But yeah, it was thoroughly enjoyable. I would go as far as to say, it's the best day's racing I think I've ever had. And it wasn't just the tip 3 winners, obviously the planets aligned. It was just we were made to feel so welcome, and it was such a good room. The buffet was excellent. Half the people who didn't turn up meant double portions, wasn't it? 2 slices of cake as opposed to 1. And all the escalopes you can eat. Brilliant.
I think John's an honorary Yorkshireman because he always claims to be a Yorkshireman.
That's because I am.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt when Yorkshire did play county championship matches at Middlesbrough. I do get that. There's a case there to be made, John. They made a new argument saying that you're now Cleveland.
I was born in Yorkshire. When Middlesbrough was in Yorkshire in 1967, they've
messed with the boundaries and tried to fuck you up on that. I get it. It was boycott. You loved all that shit. You loved sitting there and watching him bat for 4 hours.
Detested every minute.
37 in singles. Great stuff, RD. Coming on to the subject of racing and stuff and what tracks could do, Jeff Lynch put an interesting question. He says, I attended Kelso last Monday. If better advertising had been made of my local track Sedgefield and Thirsk, I might have had a rethink. My question, is it just me, or do you agree tracks need to advertise more? This comes about regarding Pontefract, for example, next week, tomorrow actually, are doing Monday, that is for people that listen late. They're doing an OAP day where it's free to get in, and it's £6 if you want to upgrade that free ticket into the Premier Lounge. That's superb. And I only heard of it yesterday, thanks to Charlotte of Go Racing in Yorkshire telling me. So what we've done as Bars is we've asked to go on a media list so we can retweet the tracks, and we're aware of offers that they're doing for racegoers because they obviously don't get enough reach. And I think other media outlets should also be held accountable and responsible for promoting racing. Racing TV, what do they do, John? Nothing. What does any of the big media outlets do when tracks are giving brilliant offers like Nottingham, £9 to get in the other week? We all slag tracks off, but when they do good things, they need promotion. Jeff, I totally agree with you. Do you agree with that, John?
Yeah, it's very rare that you see anything relating to specific days on racing TV or anywhere like that, and when they have the monopoly on courses like Pontefract, you'd think they'd give it the big one for Ponty tomorrow, wouldn't you? And man, Joe, if it's free to get in and only £6 to go in Premier, I think Premier's going to be a bit packed tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe they've got that too cheap. But nevertheless, I commend them for attracting the grey pound, Chris. You said it, the grey pound.
Yeah, it is the grey pound. It's with people with disposable income and, most importantly, time. That's the thing. It's the time. Who's got Monday afternoons off or Tuesday? So, yeah, it's the right call, I think. Another brilliant call by me. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Every week, a gem comes out of my mouth. Really.
I think that's the tactic, though, isn't it? What you do is...
I'm angling for a job with Go Racing Yorkshire. That's what I'm doing. You can see my play, yeah, my plan there.
Yeah.
Always got a move. Always a move. Always a story, yeah.
Anyway, carrying on. I commend tracks for doing this, and I think that it needs more help from media outlets. All the big media companies, Racing TV, Racing Post, should support racing and get it out there, but they don't. They're all like self-interest. That's all it is all the time. Yeah. Me. Self-interest. More needs to be done. And we intend to do that on behalf of especially Yorkshire track. Marcus Clitheroe has been on. What's your favourite course and least favourite as a race goer? I'm going to ask John first. To be honest, I actually don't know John's least.
That's a good
Your favourite's going to be York, isn't it?
Well, unfortunately, yes, which is all a little bit predictable, but my least favourite, I would say, I have quite a few. I'll be controversial. I'll say Goodwood because I hate the place for punting.
Right.
Yeah.
Because everybody else loves Goodwood, don't
Yeah, I did until I wanted to buy a straw hat, John.
they?
I remember the straw hat gate. Remember that?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I was escorted by security because I hadn't got the right badge. Got a hospitality badge, but not a badge to get in the Richmond enclosure, which was currently for members only. So I was escorted by 2 security who actually stood and watched me try hats on. Just astonishing. Now, it put me right off after that. I'll be honest, but the views at Goodwood are incredible.
Yeah.
But the track itself, nah. What's your favourite gaff track? Class as a gaff that you enjoy?
In all honesty, my favourite gaff's my Lurkle.
Yeah.
Because I've been going there since God's dog was a pup, and I love it for punting because I very rarely seem to lose there, so what's not to like?
Yeah, I'd say it's my least favourite, your gaff for owners.
Yeah.
It's the worst experience I've ever had like as an owner at Redcar. It's absolutely dreadful. In fact, so much so, I don't even take advantage of the owners' facilities. I'll come and sit with you guys. If I used to run one, I used to just sit with you at normal bar, you know. just pointless. They don't offer anything. It's like chili and rice in a back room. But I don't know if they've improved it since then. Redcar, get in touch.
David's like that. He likes chili and rice, doesn't he?
Well, the quality of a chili and rice, it really deserves to be served in a back row, in all honesty.
Thank you for the question, Marcus. Ice Cold Cube comes on before we come on to the racing review. He said, now you're all part of the establishment and big time Charlies.
Yes, we are.
Right?
Yes.
With your sponsorship malarkey, it's surely odds on you'll soon have the ear of those in power. Finally, I don't know about that. Finally, the big questions will be asked, such as, does Nicky Henderson have a wig?
Well, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Does he have a wig? I don't know.
No, it's all his own chest hair.
cut for hair, like a turban. Yeah.
I've never looked at Endo and thought it's not like he looks like Fabricant, is it?
No, that's proper. That's a proper syrup, isn't it? Christ,
yeah,
that is a proper syrup.
Skelton, he's more wiggy than Henderson.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Hair replacement plan.
Well, no.
Paul Daniels, mane. You should like spray it on your hair. It thickens your hair. Apparently, Paul Daniels. Yeah, mane.
It's a great name. It's a great name for hair replacement, isn't it?
It's Maine. It's tremendous.
Yeah,
but no, I think Henderson is hirsute naturally, so I don't think he's got a wig.
Racing review time. We're going to cover the Scottish National and the questions relating to that, and we're going to cover the Guineas Trials and Guineas Clues potentially. First of all, John, we'll do the flat, as it's the flat season, folks. Come on. Never mind National Hunt questions week in, week out. That's done now. Cheltenham's done. It's over. It's finished. That's your flagship meeting. We will look at the Scottish National. So coming to Newbury, we started off with the Fred Darling, the Fillies trial, where Duty First upset the odds, really, at double carpet. I'm just wondering whether there was a bias at Newbury yesterday. I wasn't at home, so I couldn't sit there all day and watch it, but just watching the 2 trials races, felt like if you were towards the near side, it favoured it over the centre part of the track. And I'll come on to that, why I think that in a bit in more detail. But these Fillies races, John, at this time of year, they mean absolutely nothing, don't they?
This was particularly horrific, I thought. They didn't seem to go a great pace, and yet they were strung out like washing at the finish. But there was 2 interesting explanations went into the stewards afterwards. Simmering's connections came up with she didn't like the good to firm ground, which was riding loose. And then Mountain Breeze's connections, Godolphin, were absolutely verbatim the same explanation. Now, when you got 2 yards like that offering that up, I think there has to be some notice taken. And when it was riding loose, I think there's a case for saying that Formal ran a lot better than at first thought.
She was on the flank on the far side. Yeah.
And we know full well she doesn't like loose ground.
Nope.
She pulled out early, didn't face the hood. After making some headway, O'Shane just didn't bother with her. I think if there's one to take out of that race, it's her. I mean, she's not winning a Guineas on, but she could be popping up as a player in something like the Sandringham where there's going to be a gallop on.
Yeah. This is a race where it's total bullshit. If you've got form books and times or whatever you do, just put a big X on the
Jack's 100 to 1 Oaks winner got beat 6 wickets in this, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a funny race, is that. And I'll tell you what I don't like. And I don't know why the jockeys are doing it. If any jockeys do listen to this podcast, which we know they do, wants to DM me and tell me, why are you racing in 2 groups on the Newbury Straight Course? Even if there's only like 8 runners, they split into 2 groups nearly every time. I can't fathom out why. It doesn't make any sense.
Not in this latest. There's a fairly new clerk at Newbury, taken over from Osgood, isn't there? I think he's only into about his 3rd year. I'm not convinced that Newbury surface is what it was, and I think we're getting very close to the point where we start filing Newbury results close to the July course at Newmarket, and that would be an absolute horror if we got to that stage.
That's tragic because we've got very few flat galloping tracks left to bet on.
Newbury is reeking of being fucked by overwatering at the minute to me.
An interesting comment is what you said about Godolphin and Ollie Sangster's comments regarding their filly.
Very concerning, I thought.
Well noted. So anyway, we move on to the Greenham. This, for me, could prove very good form. But, and I'm going to put a caveat here, I think the winner's nice, John Quill. It's beat the right one in Rashabar. Saracen absolutely skittered up on debut in 3rd. Diablo Rojo has already run to like decent levels in the 90s and stuff. The 5th horse, Yamobi there, won a listed race last July. So the first 5 home really spell solid form. But the reason I said about a draw bias is if you watch the race back, John, there was 10 runners in the Greenham. They split 5 and 5. Mm-hmm. The first 5 home were the near side.
Yeah.
That then brings caution to the wind where you think, oh, this looks solid form, which, to be fair on form, you've beaten horse rated 113 in Meehan's. It all looks quality and solid. And Bill Carson being on, he can't believe he's getting 11s. He's making comparisons to Chaldine. He thinks this is the real deal. And you can't argue weight 1 and the form and everything. But I'd just bear caution to what I've just pointed out, that the first 5 stand side, finish first 5.
There's plenty of reasons for caution as well. I mean, let's not forget this horse pissed up on debut last year, and then second time out ran an absolutely stinking. We know this horse goes really well fresh. What we don't know is that this horse can back up.
Yeah, 3 starts. Like you said, the second run was... Did it pull its nuts off second start, I think?
It was just abject. It was as flat as a fart, in all honesty. He ran it back a lot quicker than he would normally run one back.
That's right, yeah. So debut 30th of August, and then he goes for listed at Donny.
I would suggest that a trainer of his calibre, if he's running one back quicker than normal, 19 times out of 20, you would be expecting that to win.
Okay.
Not run like a lumpy shit.
So, Bill, I like it on the book. So your 11s, you might have a point there in a case, and it did it well, and it's beat the right ones, but it's all been on the right part of the track. There we go. And we don't know if anything that had been drawn on the other side of the track might have involved. So it's just one note of caution regarding the form. So we come on now to the jumps. The Scottish National. We'll talk about the winner because I felt this was a bit of a classy ride, really, from Harry Cobden. Very, very cheeky win.
Cooler than Captain Cucumber, isn't he?
Yeah, for a big race. He reminded me of Carberry-esque there, that kind of ride. And it's pleasing on the eye to see a staying race won in that manner rather than finishing absolutely knackered and out on the feet.
Thirsting for more jumps.
Yes, but again, the problem we've got here is the awful PR coming out from 2 dead horses. Was it 3? Might be 3. I think 1 finished badly lame and 2 are definitely fatality.
And that's last year's winner's dead, isn't it?
McDermott, yeah, pulled up on the first lap. The point is, though, that did nothing wrong other than just it was on the flat that it obviously broke something up.
The nip hand had an absolute crunching fall at the second last. I mean, he was 25 to 1 to get up from that.
Talking national racing, it's definitely the one that's possibly most in trouble regarding horse racing in terms of longevity. But I will say this, I made a point of watching all the beaten runners and that weren't fighting out for the win. And the jockeys were very sympathetic on them turning in. So I cannot fault any rider in that race. Even the nip hand, it was just extremely unlucky. Again, the problem with national racing now, because these are normal fences, John, and not the hurdles and the 17 inches spruce in the national, these are proper fences. So 4 miles at the end of the season, some of these have been on the go a long time, probably knackered.
Knackered at the start of the race, and knackered at the finish, aren't they? And one of my concerns in these races is the fact that when your prize money down to 8 Is it really an edifying sight saying Toe going at his hammer and tongs for 700 quid after absolutely no chance of winning?
Yeah, it's funny.
And they're clearly knackered when they're finishing between 8s and 9s, aren't they?
680 quid for 8. It's not amazing prize. I'll be honest, given what the prize we had on offer, if I had a runner in that, I'd even say to the jockey, I says, don't beat this up for $2,000. If you've no chance of getting in 4, that's it. Just
How many are like you?
I don't know.
No one, I would say. I should beat it to an inch of its life for 1,500 quid.
Well, I mean, this is where we are, though, isn't it?
Yeah. That's an incentive, though, isn't it, John? If the prize money, is tight anyway, and you're giving prize money away all the way down to 8. Some owners are going to say, "Well, I haven't had a draw all year from it. Do what you can to get the few hundred quid." And it kind of, I think, if you cut that prize money, then there's no incentive for people to push horses beyond what they're capable of. I think
the trouble is, Chris, there's part of racing not wanting these horses pushed beyond what they're capable of.
How do you mean?
And they're not comfortable with it, are they? They won't stand up for racing.
No. That's true. That's a good point.
The minute anything happens that's bad, like the death of that one yesterday at the second last, they're wringing their hands thinking, well, maybe we better lower the second last,
Yeah,
True
enough.
That's like the gut reaction.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, it's a worry because that's the way this will get done away with.
Yeah. I mean, all eyes seem to be on jump racing again, don't they? Normally after the national, they kind of forget about it and go away, don't they? But they seems to be holding the gaze of people who want to see it outlawed, unfortunately. And 2 fatalities or whatever, again, it's not a good look. Or even though it's just one of those things.
The national was a letdown for the antis, but they're hanging on in there hoping for some fatalities.
Yes, they are. Absolutely, they are. Yeah.
I'll stand by my comments that I couldn't see any fault with any of the riders. I thought they were very sympathetic to the ones beat. So
I think this needs saying, I think the jump jockeys this year have been absolutely superb with these new whip rails. How they've adapted to them and avoided accidents where, talking tired chasers coming to the last 3 fences and they're running out of stick hits, and they've ridden tremendously well this season, I think, in view of what they've been up against.
Hugh Brampton Fowles has been on. He says, will national racing survive? If not, how long before it's finished? And what is the where, why, when of its end days?
10 years.
It's an ever-changing world, and the problem is, I've always tried to say, look, ignore the outside world. Spanish ignore it about bullfighting and that crazy bull run they do down through streets where people actually get
appalling.
named.
Yeah, it's absolutely appalling. But you see, that's part of that's you've just nailed that. You see, but the Spanish can get away certainly with bullfighting because in the newspapers it's not reported in the sports section; it's reported in the culture section. And that's quite different. They don't see it as a pastime or an endeavour or a frivolous endeavour. It's part of the warp and weft of Spanish or certain sections of Spanish society. So that's how they're able to ignore it, because it's culture. It's not sport, and that's the difficulty. And that's what racing isn't very good at, about articulating the degree to which the sport plays a role that's bigger than just that sporting event. It's part of culture. It's it provides livelihoods for people along the sort of the breadth of the country. So I think that's the problem. I think it's more than sport, and that's the problem that racing has in portraying itself.
It makes you wonder where we're going wrong, really, because the Spanish seem to get away with all sorts. They have that thing where they take a donkey up on a 100-foot podium and make it dive into a bucket of water.
Dreadful people, yeah, dreadful, absolutely disgusting.
Spanish Armada, they were cunts and all, weren't they?
Yeah. I don't like the fucking tapas is shit as well. I think well overrated.
Yeah, I don't like tapas. I think
fucking paella. That's fucking boiled rice with shit in it. Fuck off, Spanish. Yeah, bollocks to you. Apologies to our Spanish contingent.
Yeah. Apologies. Yes. Look, it's a contentious topic. There's lots of opinions on it. It's safe to say, if it carries on the way it is, even though we have made it safer, I agree with Hugh on some of his points on the subject. We have made the Grand National safer. That's a fact. It doesn't matter if one pops its clogs. It's still ammo for them to go at it. That's the problem. There's so much focus on the race, but There we go. Right, one of John's next points. He goes on about Mullins, Skelton and Tom Cruise. What's all this about? Is this the National Trainers title race?
Well, yeah, Tom Cruise is the third member of the battle, isn't he, with his new aviators?
Oh, yeah.
He's unfortunately fallen by the wayside now, hasn't he? But fair play to Willie Mullins. He's certainly put it up to the grinning ninny these last 10 days, hasn't he?
Yeah, current standings. I don't know if Skelton's had any runners today or not, but I've not really looked at the jumps. But the 1,500 quid, I think, gap after Saturday between them, I think he's quite damning. It looks like it'll be an all-out assault from Wicked Willie's Carrots, the Sandown meeting, which might tip the balance.
Yeah, have we had red entries yet? Is it an early close? It will be, won't it?
Nothing for Sandown at the moment.
Wow, so if it's not an early closer, we could be looking at... Well, he can nearly keep all the Dans out, couldn't he?
Well, that's it.
Block entry. Would we do that? I think it's a valid question. Would we do it?
I don't think we would.
No, I don't. Will he?
I can see it, yeah. I can see something like big handicaps at a block entry.
Yeah.
He'll probably target Whitbread over Fairyhouse, I think, rather than Irish National. He might decide to keep 3 Mile 5 or some of his best stuff back for Sandown. But then Irish National is worth €270,000 to win, which is a rather large purse. So I don't know. He'll be desperate to win British Trainers title for sure. Yeah, just to prove that how uncompetitive the game is in Britain today. Right, we're coming on to scoop time. And I'm about to play you a clip regarding the going stick and watering from Clerk of the Course at Thirsk, James Sanderson. And you won't believe your ears. It's fantastic. And certainly it's more than eye-opening. So here you go.
The going stick is a controversial instrument in the clerk of the course world. So you have some clerks that swear by it, and they rely on it. They think it's a very useful instrument. The BHA have become more insistent on it being used. I think you'll probably find there's a degree or an element of clerks like me, been around a long time, never really trusted it, but I have used it and I've tried it, and I've got to use it now. It's basically rule now. I'll tell you my problem with the going stick is if you're using a going stick to create data across a whole year, across 60 race courses, jumping and flat, you will have too much variety unless you are creating your own data specifically for your race course, or you as a punter are creating data for each race course, and you begin to create your own patterns. I don't think it's any help, because most people just look at a reading and they think that is it's a reading that would apply from Perth to Newton Abbot, from Haydock to Beverley, and it doesn't. And there's a little list of where the number equals the going. So it's interesting. And when you look at going reports, in theory, they could go from like 1 for bottomless up to, I think it's about 14, something like that. It's you know, that. But you will never see a going report that's much lower than 4. And you'll probably never see a going report that's much higher than 8. So, if you're a trainer and you're looking for good ground, what are you going to declare on? With your experience of the going stick, what would you say to a trainer? Oh, that's a good ground reading.
If you're looking for good ground, probably high 6s, 7-ish.
Right, okay. What do you think the ground is today?
Put me on the spot, James. 7.2?
It's no, the ground. What do you think
the ground is? I'd
yeah.
say good ground, solid good ground today.
Solid good ground, okay. My going stick reading this morning, 8.6.
There you go.
And my going stick reading for declarations, 8.9. If I put 8.9,
you get a lot of non-runners.
I get a lot of non-runners, and I get a lot of punters going, that's not good, that's bloody firm, you're a nutter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I've published a reading.
Yeah.
Do you know what I've done? I've taken 1 whole point off it to put it where people can interpret it better. Okay. And the reason I've done that is because I think the actual reading that I'm getting off a stick that's just been serviced is misleading. That is why I don't like the going stick. Simple as that. I've got nothing against the people that like it and work it or anything like that. And good luck to you if you can make it work for you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work for me at Thirsk. And that's why I've been so resistant to using it because they don't think it helps. And there are a lot of clerks, of course, and they might not admit this, who get it going stick reading and then go, I can't publish that.
Yeah.
And I mean at the top of the game as well.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm publishing that.
Yeah.
And they will massage it. And so if you're making a number up
Yeah.
that correlates with what you think the going is, then what's the point of the stick? Let's just do that anyway.
Agreed. Yeah.
Let's just go on the chart and go, it's good ground, we want to be 7.4. That'll do,
Yeah.
7.4. A lot of people do that. There you go.
Right. After listening to that, chaps, what are we saying at what we've just heard?
Well, John, this is right in your sphere of expertise. I'll leave the floor to you.
Well, before Jack did the interview with Mr. Sanderson, I asked him to ask why stick readings are seeming to get progressively lower. Now, obviously, he didn't ask that question specifically. However, what a revelation we ended up with. Now, from a personal point of view, and now he's explained what he's doing, I feel a bit more justified for comments that I've made over the years about clerks not being asked about the stick and often making things up, even as the magic of the stick's worn off for them. I was accused of being all sorts when I was saying that, but I think this shows I was possibly in the right ballpark. I can happily revert to the old going descriptions, knowing from experience which clerks are reliable and which aren't. But going back to when Nick Davis and myself were doing Clark Watch, we were actually compiling stats based on stick readings and what they equated to at every different track, which of course Mr. Sanderson says trainers don't do. They just have a stick reading right across the board in their heads and they'll withdraw, which I'm surprised at, because I would have thought trainers were less likely to use the stick readings and more likely to go on the going descriptions, but he's the one dealing with the non-runners, so he should know. So, I mean, punters need to revert to setting race times purely against going descriptions. This is what we do anyways when we look at a meeting retrospectively. I mean, I'd never file a meeting as a 7.9. I would say it was good or good to firm based on the times that I look at. But as I say, I am surprised he states trainers have been withdrawn based on stick reading, because if they have, they would know that there used to be double-figure stick readings for perfectly safe ground. And trainers and clerks still ought to know that there are no worthwhile injury stats anyway, because we still don't differentiate between watered and unwatered ground when we're looking at injuries.
Absolutely brilliant monologue from you there. And I tell you what it's done to me. It's not only blown me away from Jack David Frost Veach in terms of his first interview for the Bar Stewards, and he's managed to get out that bombshell. And James and Sanderson, to be honest, I listened to him, and at first I thought, oh my God, this is really bad that they're sort of like faking the stick reading when they're asked to do it by the BHA, because the BHA make them do it. They want them to do it. There's a 600-page manuscript for Clark on producing accurate going reports. When James told us that the stick reading upon declaration was 8.6, he thought, there's no way I'm giving that out because they'll all pull out. So apparently it was 8.9 on the day. So he took a point off, 7.9. And then what did that result in? No non-runners, no injured horses. To my knowledge, all horses sort of finished the races off nice. And the thing is, what he says makes total common sense, because if the trainers are using stick readings, I suppose like we all were for a bit, again, data, right? Well, we can't run on that. Can't run our lovely horse on that. But then that's the thing we've always said, John. There is no data on loose top, watered ground, which gets more injuries or rats.
Which way didn't you? Certainly on Saturday. Could have been Friday. We had a fatality on Friday.
Well, there you go. I know it's anecdotal in terms of a low sample size, but what I'm trying to say is that there is nobody that's kept records of this. A full interview with James is going to be published on YouTube for you to listen to and watch. Jack does a very good job, and James explains all his opinion on this.
James Sanderson didn't duck a single issue, did he?
Not one. And do you know what? In the end, after my initial shock, thinking all these years I've been looking at stick reading and shit, it makes total sense. You have to find a clerk that knows what they're doing, and you have to believe them in what the ground's going to be. And he says, I've been doing this game for 30 years. I walk the dog every day around the track, and I know when the ground is good to firm, good to soft, heavy. I just know. That's it. And then I get the feedback after the jockeys in the first just to make sure. You cannot be right every time. It's not possible. But certainly, if you gain it right a lot of the time, you gain trust with punters, owners, trainers, everyone. And again, the lack of non-runners at Thirsk Saturday, what do you think would have happened if James Sanderson had put out 8.9 on the day of the meeting? Fields will be absolutely decimated as trainers just, no, not running on that. Imagine Clarehaven having one. No. Speak eloquently. You can't run on 8.9. It's that kind of thing. I found it refreshing and enlightening. And this is a massive scoop because it's also going to change my betting. I have decided, and I sort of decided last night before we left the track, spend less time on time figures and more time on my own eyes, because that's what's got me to where I am in the first place. Before we had all sectional data, going sticks, timings, this and the other. That don't mean I'm ditching it. It just means that I'll place less faith in it, John, because how do you put a time figure on something when you're doing a going allowance and but the clerk's telling porky?
I think it's fantastic that we're going back to basics, and it reminds me of when the Tory party went back to basics and John Major was banging Edward McCurry.
What a thought, horrible.
A proper back to basics campaign. You don't get much more basic than that, do you?
No, not really. No. What about eggs as well? She's about eggs. Remember that?
Yeah.
She was saying about the salmonella. Ooh. Eggs and John Major and her. What a trilogy.
I hope you all enjoyed that super scoop, and it's actually going to change the way I approach betting. In my variable scale, I used to place probably timings and stuff at maybe 50% of my actual sort of thought process. I'm probably going to knock it down by half because I'll just use it as a backup to say, well, the time figure's good, rather than base the bet on the actual time figure, because a lot of geeks are using that anyway. The time figures are shaping the market. It's time to get back to basics, look at the eyes, because if half these clerks are lying in terms of like they daren't put this going stick out because they know they're not going to sell the hospitality boxes, trainers in the restaurants because they're not going to turn up.
I was quite chuffed because I've been convinced for years a lot of these ratings were bollocks.
I know you have. And you can tell that. Are they riding? And then times come through and you say, well, this guy...
Times haven't always backed up what the stick rating said at certain tracks.
No.
They really should if you're going on an accurate stick rating, but if they're knocking 0.5 off here and there or adding 1.5, you've got no chance.
Full credit to James Sanderson. And as I say, folks, the full interview will be out on our Bar Stewards channel from Jack David Frost.
Yes.
Interview number 1 gets the biggest going scoop in racing in recent times. There you go. Well done, Jack. We knew you got it.
This is where we announce we're standing down and Jack's taking the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, get rid of you fucking old
idiots. Yeah, old fucking losers. Yeah, well.
Get Jack on. Yeah, absolutely.
The only way it's going to be better, I think.
Swad's been on, and he said, do you think the Gambling Commission should be doing more to crack down on scam tipsters trying to reel presumably young folk in with fake, fraudulent or non-existent profit loss? I am talking about your marketing heavy firms such as PSA Sport, Mooch Tips, Indication, Paper Bullseye, Notes, Kid. Fucking hell.
I don't know any of them. Yeah.
Mooch Tips is funny. I just laugh at the videos, really.
Yeah,
it's just class and entertaining, but he's not going to make you money. I'd be in favour of regulation of that, not by the Gambling Commission, because they can't regulate days of the week. I'd be in favour of some kind of regulatory body. If you're going to be a registered advisor, Chris, we go back to the financial sector, don't we? Where if you're a share advisor, you have to be regulated.
Yeah. I mean, you're subject to all kinds of rules and regulations, and you have to show your workings as to, you have to. If the regulator wants to get behind what you're doing, you have to show, your reasoning as to why you're advising a particular strategy, etc. You have to keep immaculate records, to the cent. And I suppose tipping horses in that sense is no different, really. I mean, you haven't even got the benefit of the profit warning that accompanies any kind of financial investment instrument. You invest, profits can go down as well as up. This is not a guarantee, but that none of that seems to apply to tipsters. But equally, I'd be more interested in exploring any of the affiliate links that may exist between these tipsters and certain bookmakers. I think that will be fascinating because, of course, there's a huge incentive for some of these tipsters to sort of leaven their advice with lots of duds and then steering them towards a particular bookmaker. I think that would be much more interesting, I think, than just regulating them per se, because if you did that, 99% would go by the wayside. But I think an investigation into the affiliate links, I think, will be very revealing.
Good point. Personally, I would be in favour of this if it was done properly. We run a Patreon service, as most of you listeners know, and we're completely transparent, above board. There's no stone looked at. We give detailed profit and loss analysis, as well as we respond to members with concerns on losing runs and variance.
Yeah, tell them to fuck off. Yeah, that's the standard reply.
You don't think, though, that this kind of business is very much self-regulating? Because I know for a fact there's people on that Patreon service that have been with you since sports advisory days.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
There won't be anybody that's coming up for the second year with most tips.
No. No, but you see, John, you're right. His business model, he's not really concerned with making a profit, right? Making a profit is a happy coincidence, but fundamentally, he is a marketing company, right, that just happens to use horse racing tips as the vehicle by which he makes money. All he needs to do is to ensure a steady and regular supply of new punters, because as Lee says, no one's going to resubscribe. If you're lucky, you might hit a run of winners, but eventually you're going to hit the inevitable run of losing, you're going to cancel. But he doesn't care. As long as he can keep marketing to a new and ever more green demographic, you just got to keep loading up the new punters. But eventually, like all of these things, they blow up because you run out of new punters. But he's not really interested whether he makes a profit or not. It's a marketing business. That's all it is.
I think, Chris, as well, I do listen to you now and again.
Oh, good. That's all right. It's like being at home. No one listens to me. Yeah, it's a change.
I like your analogy, like with certain people on Twitter, and it's like an actor on the West End or an actress on the West End. They're playing a character.
Yes.
And Moosh is a character. He's a con man, but he's playing the character right now. The video with him the other week, I think I mentioned to you at the weekend that Moosh sits down going bananas.
Yeah.
He sat with his Thai lady.
Yeah.
And he was going ballistic into the camera. He's saying, I'm angry at your comments. You're calling her a man and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how much I love this lady. He pulls out a ring from his pocket. He asks her to marry him.
Yeah.
And
the rascals, aren't they? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, some eagle-eyed person on Twitter realised it was actually Moosh's ring that he's always been wearing.
Genius. But you see, that's a marketing business. And the point is, the human psychology is really weird, right? I don't think, everybody who subscribes, expects to make money. Yes, you're going to get very vulnerable, quite naive people who think this guy's got the key to the safe. But you see, he creates an experience for a lot of people. It's kind of the videos, the other stuff he sends out, etc. People want to feel part of something, even though I think in their heart of hearts they know that it's a short-term gig and they're going to do their money. And I can't understand it, but there has to be a reason why he's able to attract the large number of clients. He can. Everybody can't be stupid. They can't all be taken in. I often think that some of the clients just want to be part of the ride or feel that they're part of his illusory lifestyle that he promotes. Because remember, all these guys come out and they're all laying on Lamborghinis, yachts, and in expensive hotels, and they're kind of selling almost not a lifestyle experience, but a dream, which people know is out of reach, but you never know. He might hit a winning run and kaboom, that could be me. So it's very odd. But yeah, I mean, he's a marketing business. That's it. He's a marketeer and a very good one.
Yeah, some people get rich from being used, but if you've got the gab, it works. One of John's last questions before we come on to a little bit of a rumour regarding a major betting company, but just a bit more fun here. John says, you're emigrating. Where and why? Tell us your dream destination away from this hell, Chris. Let's say right now, somebody gives you a bag full of cash, right?
Yes. Well, I would go to somewhere like Idaho, in the middle of fucking nowhere, and I'd find a place like Ruby Ridge. If you Google that, you'll know what I mean. Right on the top of a mountain, I'll build a compound to keep everybody out. I'd go off grid. That's how I would roll. If I had enough money, I'd go off grid, get away from everybody. But somewhere really remote where the feds can't get you. That's where I would go.
I've got exactly the same answer as that. Yeah, me and the producer are exactly the same.
Brilliant.
Like, try and live off the fat of the land, have your
Yeah.
own cattle, chickens.
We'd die in a
vegetables.
week. We're both as equally useless of being
Yeah, yeah.
self-sufficient. We'd be dead in a week, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like the idea of it, you know, riding horses across our kind of ranch or place, but we would die in a week. But
Yeah,
it's a
probably
nice
get bit by a rattlesnake. Or
Yeah,
something after week one.
exactly.
Bang.
Yeah, yeah.
You're about 2,000 miles from an hospital.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. We never thought anything could go wrong. What's the, you know?
Yeah. Bang. Have that.
Yeah, quite right.
John, where would you? So obviously, like, you're in your comfy zone right now. I know for a fact you're really happy with everything about your life in your home abode. But if you could go anywhere, where would it be?
I would probably go back to my roots. And when I say my roots, I mean the family roots, and head for Poland.
Oh, wow.
Good answer.
I thought you were jesting the other night when you said that your family roots are Poland.
No. Me and Mr. Kabiscus share Eastern European lineage.
Excellent.
Interesting.
My surname used to be spelled Leyng initially, and it was a Thomas Lang who came over from Poland in the late 1600s.
Mine got, there you go. Very good.
Given the lifestyle that they're afforded over there now, I think I would head back home, shall we say, and probably end up shagging a distant cousin and end up in jail.
Excellent. You wouldn't get an electrician over there, would you? All over here, aren't they? Polish
That's
electricians.
it, yeah.
So.
The one thing about the Polish, which I've visited many a time, is that they are big coal burners, and their energy is amongst the cheapest in the world. They are super coal burners, and I like.
I quite like the food. I think the food's underrated.
Do you?
It is.
Do you
Oh,
really
massively.
think that? Okay, give the listeners a really good Polish dish to try, because the perception is it's all kind of just sausage and nothing much else.
Pierogies. They're made fresh, so you know, like Finder's crispy pancakes.
I do.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. They're not like that. They're freshly made, like with pastry. Yeah. You have your filling of your choice in there. It could be anything from prawns to minced beef.
Yeah.
Anything to choose, and then they just lightly sort of produce it boiled.
Are they boiled or fried or?
They're very lightly done. They don't come out like fucking like Cornish pasties. They come out like soft, but they're absolutely beautiful, freshly made. Pierogies in Poland are outstanding. That's probably one of their national dishes, I would think.
Dumplings, broths.
Yeah.
They make the best mayonnaise in the world. There's just loads and loads of stuff, honestly. Cured meat's fantastic.
Yeah.
Pork products, really, honestly, it's limitless.
Tremendous. See, people get this for free, this sort of advice. They don't have to pay for it. It's unreal, isn't it?
Honestly, I can recommend Poland to anyone. Like, I've visited many cities in Poland, and it's a fantastic country. They're so friendly as well. Do you like British people?
Imagine the reception I'd get when I was bringing the name home, you know?
Oh,
yeah.
The flags out, parade.
The shipyards would go on half day, wouldn't they? And Gdansk or whatever, yeah.
Lech Wałęsa's ghost would come out and welcome.
Yeah, he would.
Come out and welcome you, John, as
Solidarnosc and all that, yeah.
On to another story, before we've got two funny questions to finish. Bet365 had a bit of info in. It looks like the Coates family might be deciding to jettison from Bet365. Now, this is a bit of conjecture with a bit of info, so this isn't guaranteed or anything like that. This is official sources and unofficial sources. August 2024, Bet365 Group divests itself of Stoke City Football Club. March 2025 goes public about pulling out of China black market. The information that we have as well privately is that their advisors are already talking to private equity companies in New York, not the London Stock Exchange, so it probably be floated in New York on flotation in 2026. This is quite a big bombshell because obviously Bet365, to most folk probably listening to this podcast and obviously in the game, are one of the major players, of course, but if not the major player in the online markets. Now, this can be kind of worrying also because they've actually made a statement saying that they will continue to operate in countries that are profitable to them, etc., etc. First worry I was, could that lead them to not arse with the UK regulated market, Chris?
Yeah, it could. Yeah, in a nutshell. It is very worrying. You know, I mean, if that sort of information or that suggestion is halfway correct, yeah, I think it is quite worrying because they are, I think, the preeminent online player. And if they're deciding, well, okay, we're not going to operate where we're profitable, which they have a perfect right to do, then they may say, you know what, UK's not for us. And that's very worrying. So, yeah, I wonder how that will pan out, rather.
It's interesting that the info was mentioned that it could happen in 2026 because that's also, if we remember right, the media rights negotiation.
Correct. That's what my brain. You teased that out. You're right. That's the significance of it. That's what's particularly worrying. Now that could be coincidental, but I don't believe in coincidences when that sort of information comes to light. So interesting.
That's a worrying thing going forwards. I don't think that's good for racing. I'll be honest. I'd like to think that some people will be singing "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead" if Denise exits the game. But we're talking here that they might then just concentrate on other countries, other markets, and just bin off UK horse racing completely.
Yeah. And then sometimes you get a domino effect. You know, the law of unintended consequences. Yeah, if they bin it off, who knows who comes next? You know, it could be a domino effect, and that's very bad. So it's definitely worth keeping your ear to the ground on that, I think.
Any thoughts on that, John, yourself?
Just really echo what's been said, in all honesty. I mean, it's concerning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of them we have to watch here. It's difficult to comment at this stage because we haven't got all the facts, but
the source is good, though. The source is good, which gives me, the source is good.
I'm going to say this, the source is good.
Given everything she's earned, I mean, you wouldn't be surprised if she chose to spend more time with her money, would you?
No.
I'm told that the Coates family are really withdrawn from society. It's kind of weird. They make very few public appearances.
They're almost in a position to make their own society, though, aren't they?
It's like what we want to do. Yeah, top of the mountain.
They're in Bruff Scott's crypt.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, put another shilling in the meat. We need to get Bruff going again.
We'll finish off with two nice questions now from you very selves, and we do appreciate you all that ask questions because you make the show. Bert Doncaster, where does Kevin Booth sit in the pantheon of racing wrongans?
20 lengths clear on the bride.
And who's in your top three? And for some of our listeners that may be oblivious to Kevin Booth or recent stories on him, he was the guy that managed Sirius back in the 90s, 2000s, and he used to import, still does apparently. But
he still does, he's prolific.
Yeah, he's been banned, he's been barred from importing African women to whip. John and Chris, this fails the BHA whip rules.
It does. No pro cush there, right? It was 6 of the best, wasn't it? Like a proper.
This will be all whalebone ones, John.
Oh, yeah.
Proper ones, yeah. Please, sir, might I have another? Yeah.
It's deplorable, isn't it? We're in the modern age, and he keeps bringing over like African women to whip the fuck out of in his mansion.
He's degenerate. He's a fucking. He used to record his messages because he went to jail, didn't he? Previously,
yeah.
And he kept running the Osiris message, and he used to record his Sunday messages in the payphone on the landing, and you could hear people fights going off in the background. He's totally shameless. The guy is very, very peculiar. I mean, very odd, but yeah, it was sort of he made them sign sort of contracts, didn't he?
Yeah, and NDAs. In other words, I will pay you well, but I'm going to bend you over a chair and whack the fuck out of you. And
then, give you a good leathering. Yeah. Gosh,
and do you it wrong.
It's not my cup of tea. That's not my cup of tea at all. I mean, fucking hell, Christ.
Kevin Booth, a disgrace.
Yes. Terrible.
He wants our top three, so we can pick one each between us.
Yeah.
So racing's wrongans since we've been in it, John. Right, who's your biggest racing wrongan?
Ken Richardson.
Ken Richardson.
Yeah.
Flockton Grey. Mel told me a story about him. I'll just tell it quick. He met him at the races, and he asked Mel to put a bet on for him, £1,000 on one cash.
Yeah.
And he gave Mel 10 of those bundles with a tenner wrapped round. And one of the bundles had an extra 20 quid in. And of course, Mel brought it back and said, 20 quid over here. One of Richardson's flunkies said, "Oh, you're all right, now you're in." He said, "That's how he tests people." And Mel said, "I can buy and fucking sell him. He's not testing me." And he went absolutely berserk.
Wow. Yeah, Mel Britain's got plenty, isn't they? Crikey, wouldn't we? Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, sure.
Sadly passed away. But yeah, great story, John. I'll give you mine, Chris, before you come on to yours. Mine would be Paul Durr, former jockey.
Oh, yes.
I used to get a bit of info about Paul Durr's non-jiggers. He also rode for me out of friendship and stuff like that. And he even had the bollocks to stop one of mine whilst I was in attendance at Wolverhampton over the New Year period, where I got Bill Turner. He was my trainer to keep me warm. And Paul Durr completely stopped it. It drifted like a barge. I backed it. Bill Turner was called to the steward's room, and Bill turned to me. Bill would shoot you. He's one of them guys. He'd just shoot you if you had a gun on him. And he turned to me and said, "You fucking laid the fuck out of that on Betfair, haven't you?" I showed him my bets. I sent him screenshots when I got back. Are all my bets. That's what I did.
I've not, yeah.
In place market, I backed it, and this, that, and other. I didn't think I could beat Agus anyway. That's a side story. But so Bill didn't speak to me after that incident. I asked Paul personally, I said, "You've stopped that." And he said, "I was ill, Lee. I shouldn't have come up and rode." He said, "I felt really bad." Yeah. The horse never missed the break in its life. It missed the break by 4.
Yeah. Dear God.
Paul Durr for me. What a cunt.
Yeah.
The only guy that rode 15 winners a year and drove around in a brand new Merc.
Yeah, he's just good with his money. I mean,
didn't waste it on things like food.
I didn't. Exactly. That's a good thing about being a jockey. You don't buy any food. Chris, who's your all-time wrong 'un?
Well, I'm looking out the window here at the shed. So I'm saying she's not there. Charlotte Russell. She's my all-time wrong 'un.
Oh my God!
She's not turned up. I mean, yeah, disgraceful. So Charlotte Russell, get in the bin, honestly.
Yeah, you're a million. You are literally 7 figures.
A million in the place. Yeah, in the place market, I'm a million. Yeah.
7 figures. You'll never see her again. I promise you.
Never. No, I promise you. There you go. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
Sam the Cat to finish as usual. Back to the old last question. Bar stewards have all been sent to prison for 28 days due to minor crimes.
Again. Yeah.
Which one of you could handle prison best? If Big Errol asked for your phone card or took your mashed potatoes, could you stick up for yourself, etc.? John, how would you find prison life? Could you cope?
I would do it standing on my head. No problem at all.
Really?
When they took me in there, process me, as I think they call it, on my way in, I'd try to grope the secretary, fuck the governor's golf clubs, and make sure I was in solitary for the whole of my stay.
Well, it's not a lot of fun in solitary, honestly. No, I think
it'll be more fun than I want.
Yeah, yeah, good answer.
I'll be honest, this is an honest podcast. I genuinely couldn't cope. I'd be looking for a rope and tablets. Yeah. Chris?
Look, see, prison, people have got a slightly whimsical view of prison. You know, they see porridge and they think it's sort of, Mr. Big and everybody else is a scally. You know, the reality of modern prisons is, as the question, as Sam's question kind of hints at, these are very, very, very dangerous institutions. And, and I think there ain't a lot you can do to keep yourself safe in a modern prison. But I'm going to give a tip, right? This is a proper piece of information for anybody who finds themselves doing a bit, right? If you are nicked and convicted for fraud, right? So, I know loads of fraudsters. And, if you go in there, do never, ever, and people say, what are you in for? Never, ever, ever say you're in for fraud. And you'll say, well, why is that? Because, the idea is, well, fraudster's white-collar criminal, nothing. Fraudster, if you say you're in for fraud, what you find is that the sex offenders always say they're in for fraud. So if you are genuinely in for fraud, they will assume that you're a paedophile. And I know a lot of guys have got beaten to blancmange who are fraudsters because they said, I'm in for fraud. Until they've managed to dig out their conviction and stuck it on their cell door to say, you really are in for fraud. That's all right. Because fraud is code for paedophile. So never say you're in for fraud, even if you are in for fraud. And that is 24 carat information.
We not only like top tips on chef tips. This week we're top tips if you go down.
Yeah, if you go down, you get down for fraud, just say fucking rob anything, but never ever tell him it's fraud because they'll assume that you're a pedo and beat the shit out.
I guess I'll just say you tried to rob a post office.
Anything. You're better off saying anything, but never fraud because that's that. And this guy I know had to dig it and get his solicitor to dig out the paperwork.
What's pedo codes are then if you say you're pedo?
I didn't get that. They're probably think, fraudster, you're all right, mate. Yeah. But no, honestly, he had to get his solicitors to courier the paperwork, and he had to show them, hand it around, and say, "Look, I genuinely in for fraud." Blah 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 blah. You know, because he was getting battered pretty much every day. Unreal.
Wow.
Yeah, by that rationale, if we're kicking the shit out of all the fraudsters, if you say you're a pedo, you're going to be all right, aren't you?
Yeah.
I didn't get into that, but yeah, that is, that you can take that to the bank. That is genuine prison info.
The top tips on this shirt are legendary and second to none on the internet. To know people that like to listen to this sort of shit, get them to listen, and also get them to subscribe to Patreon and support us in our work, what we do. We don't take bookmaker cash. We don't do any with the dirties in this game, called the easy gravy trainers. We do it the hard way. So support us. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Bye for now.